Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. So every time I put it up for a poll, XCOM 2 War of the Chosen Legend Ironman gets just kind of popped into second place, and I never get around to it. And streams are fairly rare, and also I'm still editing a whole bunch of stuff together, and also I figure we can probably do these in chunks of like 30 minutes at a time. So yeah, let's go do some War of the Chosen, shall we? Alright, so rules are going to be as follows. I'm going to stick mostly to vanilla for this one. Typically, I usually go for a few of the more advanced options, but I figure this is at least going to be somewhat close to vanilla. Additionally, I have a pretty extensive character pool that I put together. Actually, let's look over that real quick. So this is essentially just a collection of stuff from basically everything that we cover on the channel to some degree, as well as a few other random things here and there. So everything from Armored Core characters to Tactics Ogre characters to random characters from old RPGs or whatever else, to just absolutely random stuff here or there. Even stuff like the RE4 merchants and stuff like that. I've tried to make them all as referential as possible, but just so you know, yeah, there's quite a few on here. We're going to be using a mix of random characters as well as character pool people. But if you see any folks from anything familiar showing up as kind of random VIPs, or showing up as engineers, or showing up as soldiers or whatnot, that's kind of what's going on here. Anyway. With that being said, that list is pretty darn long, and it's even longer than a video that I made on it previously and decided not to actually put up, so whatever, let's go ahead and get into this thing. So we're going to be doing Legend Iron Man. Typically, I usually go for stuff like Beta Strike and stuff like Lengthy Scheme and Grim Horizon, and I love those settings, but I will say they lead to a very, very tedious playthrough, so if you're not feeling that, you're not feeling that, like with Grim Horizon. So with War of the Chosen, dark events are something that's happening all the time. Basically, they're kind of additional modifiers to maps. So, for example, at a certain point, if you have all of these active, you have situations where you basically just don't want to use explosives anymore because there's just permanent zombies on every map. So you constantly have new mobs spawning in at all times. You have additional reinforcements on every map. Every soldier has additional armor and poison rounds and fire rounds, and whatever else. And like, it's not that it's not doable, but man, oh man, it does get pretty darn slow. And that's usually why you would combine it with something like Beta Strike, so that units can't be taken out with a single Alpha Strike anymore. Or for example, turn on both Time Turner and Lengthy Scheme, as well as Precision Explosives to basically just nerf explosives and give you additional time for everything. But we're going to go for the sort of default experience here today, just to kind of see how it goes and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of about that. We'll just go ahead and go for Iron Man mode as you do, and yeah, let's get into this thing. We're going to leave... We're going to leave Lost and Abandoned off because it's basically just a scripted story mission and I don't want to bother with that. With the DLC, it's all going to be integrated into the campaign, and let's go ahead and start this thing. So for anyone that has never played XCOM 2, basically this is more or less a Saturday morning cartoon of a strategy game where you are serving as sort of the leader of a resistance after the initial XCOM fell apart in the first game. You don't need to have played the first game to make any sense of this, but basically your initial base gets taken over, you get sold out because you were playing it on impossible difficulty. They basically leaned into the meme of the fact that the impossible difficulty was like a pretty much solid 80 to 90% fail rate right off the bat before you could even do anything, and just kind of leaned into that as, you know what, that's just going to be canon for XCOM 2. So there's that. And yeah, for anyone that's never played the first one, XCOM Enemy Within / Enemy Unknown, effectively what it is just, yeah, there's an alien invasion and you're a kind of a paramilitary group that's supposed to be preventing it from happening. But that impossible difficulty in particular made it so that you can no longer kind of get one-shots, even with flank shots, on basic enemies, which was fine enough. You could get by with usable items in the early game. As soon as a Thin Man showed up, like if you didn't have a rocket launcher on hand, like if you didn't have your heavy soldiers surviving up to that point and they didn't all cluster up, there was a solid chance you could get squad wiped by a single enemy. So, anyway. So yeah, at this point, this is just kind of the initial story where these guys, which are a combination of like alien soldiers and people that got abducted, um, more or less, the idea is that they've taken over the world, and well, anyways, yeah, you are the dude in the pod. You're getting kidnapped back. This lady's very bad at stealth and is just deciding to go take out random scientists. Apparently, she kind of sucks. She's the one from that Lost and Damned DLC. We will not be seeing her again. Yeah, they basically make a complete. They try to make it a whole thing of like, oh, the kind of commander character is supposed to be someone that's just like extra smart and just barely managed to survive the original invasion, and they need their special chair to make everyone's decisions. Like the entire Tactical Legacy Pack DLC is just like Bradford getting a sweater back and you getting your chair because the other one had the cup holder on the wrong side. Again, it's so tongue in cheek. I love it. It's led to a meme in the community of you playing as the great commandy one. That's just like the god of strategy or something. Anyway, so this is our first dose of propaganda for the game. So every time that you accomplish anything or lose a fight or whatever else, you get to see the propaganda that's coming in from the other side. And man, oh man, after watching yesterday's debate, it is super bizarre to have the first propaganda piece that pops up is like, oh, they didn't question or they didn't respect the wisdom of our elder. Like, oh god, I just heard that in the debate last night. But yeah, it's them constantly trying to spin your wins as like an insult to the perfect piece that they've created. Anyway, so yeah, there's all that. So we got all these people. They're going and they're watching everything in their 1984 state, as you do. It's crazy to me how decent of a budget this game got, and for how cheap it's constantly on sale. Like, yeah, it's not the most spring chicken thing in the world. It's an engine they probably already had, and it's been around for a decently long time, but like it's just crazy to me that you can get this for $5 on basically everything. It's functionally speaking the price of chicken McNuggets. Actually, it's less than chicken nuggets, and yet it's one of the best strategy games that you're going to get on most stuff. All right. Yeah, we're going to add a little bit of extra time to this one here today just because the intro is kind of long. But we've got our Jane Kelly. We turned off the tutorial, so we won't be seeing her. She's basically going to be your first corporal if you played through normally. And then they decide that the best way to achieve a sort of statement about XCOM coming back is to, of all reasons, or all things, get your main logistics guy beaten up by RoboCops, and then and then just kind of blow up a thing, and then you get a helicarrier in. But stealth is a big part of this game. This guy's bad at it. Now, granted, we find out later that at any point he could have absolutely just soloed all 5 of those units, but it's fine, it's fine. He's got his shotgun and blade storm. He could have absolutely one-shot every single one of them. Essentially, just shotgun to the commander there, and just kind of blade storm on everybody else as they ran away. But hey, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. We don't question it, I guess. Okay. Now we got these 2 units. We are not using those 2 units. And also, we're not using the soundtrack, so we're going to skip through the rest of this because we do not see those 2 people again. Ah, beautiful. There it is. Okay, so now we due to the Tactical Legacy Pack, we have a essentially like 80s rock remix of the original PS1 soundtrack, which is just so good. And additionally, we have all of our random units. So by the looks of it, we've got Festa from the neutral route of Tactics Ogre. I believe that was... if I'm not mistaken, that might be Ribble Reevesbane from the Griffin Insurrection series. We'll see who else we got here, because there's I think 90 characters on that character list. Yeah, we got Neutrality, Festa Morandi from Tactics Ogre. We got Jesse Fox, the Honest Snake from Unmetal. We've got Trashbird Ribbled Reevesbane from Griffin Insurrection, and then we've got one rando generic here. So, okay, given that we're on Legend difficulty, we are guaranteed 3 pods in this initial encounter, so that's going to be a bit of a thing. To that end, we are going to want to find some height advantage pronto. So we're going to move our way towards this building. We're currently in concealment, so if we get spotted by cameras, civilians, or make enough noise, potentially we're going to end up having to deal with 3 active pods. So this game functions on a system of, well, pods, as I just mentioned. So what this means is that whenever one enemy triggers, you trigger their entire kind of small squad. These can vary in size quite a bit. Typically the size is about 2 or 3, but they can go up to like a dozen in the case of the Lost, who are the zombies in this particular situation. And additionally, they will behave differently. Like they'll travel around as a squad. They will kind of quietly patrol around the map where they are right now. But yeah, as soon as you activate them, stuff gets real. So that's when they start getting aggressive. That's when they start going for big flank maneuvers. And additionally, it's worth noting that the AI does sort of cheat a little bit, so they vaguely know where you are. Presumably, they're just hearing footsteps in the background and getting a little bit curious about it, or they just saw, your dropship flying around, because that thing is anything but inconspicuous. Like, oh, we've invented a helicopter with jets. This is the stealthiest thing we could think of. But starting off with a Reaper is one of the best things that could happen here. So Reapers are more or less the stealth specialists. So they actually operate off a different version of stealth than your basic soldiers do. So in their particular case, they are harder to spot. They additionally have the ability to go back into stealth. And additionally, will have more tricks on their sleeves. They're not very good in a direct fight, but they are very good for sabotage, and they actually come with one of the best abilities in my book, which is Remote Start, wherein effectively they can just cause any interactable object in the map to explode. So it's worth mentioning at this point that the map is extraordinarily interactive. Namely, see this roof that we're on right now? If they decide to throw a grenade, that roof will have a hole in it and our soldier will just fall through. So even if they survive the explosion, they'll probably be killed by the fall. Or let's say we have somebody go and take a shot at somebody, they miss and hit an explosive barrel behind them, then that thing's just going to explode. Now, the reason that we're going for a height advantage here is to set up a Overwatch trap. So this is going to be one of the mainstays that we'll see to gain an advantage on most maps. So effectively what we do is we go over here, we put them within line of sight of these units, and we put them into Overwatch. This means that as soon as a unit moves, they will take a shot. Now, that being said, this is actually also one of the downsides of having a Reaper on our team. Because this means that if, for example, we trigger with anybody but him, we are now in a situation that they will essentially just not attack. So we might not kill off every unit here if we do that. So we want to get a good shot off here, so we're going to have you go here. Unfortunately, they are a little bit farther back than I'd like, so they'll only get a shot off on 2 of them. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and make use of our Claymore over here. Well, we could. We're actually going to go ahead and not do that. We're actually just going to take a regular shot. So they actually have a Claymore that they can throw out as a, not quite a free action, but half of their turn. And then they can shoot it to go blow it up. So effectively, if a unit it kind of triggers that explosive in any way, it would essentially go and blow up on them. Now, we have kind of one use of it, and additionally we have the ability to go back into stealth with this guy. So Shadow allows them to go back into stealth here, and additionally they may not actually trigger this unit with their shot. It's only a 50% chance to reveal. But as soon as they do, it will blow the cover of the rest of the party, and they will start shooting. So we're going to go ahead and go for the farthest one here, essentially going for this guy back here, and go ahead and take the shot. Okay, got the high roll, so we got the 4 damage there. 2 units are left. They didn't end up revealing, so we don't have to burn our concealment. And additionally, these guys now have 3 shots on these guys while they're out in the open. And surprisingly, because actually no, it's not surprising because they didn't get revealed. So these guys actually have no idea where the shot came from. So they're going to put themselves right in the open. That's actually pretty darn handy. That's actually another reason why, well, one that I constantly forget over why exactly these guys are so good. So We're actually just going to go run the same play again, since they're all just going to sit there. So we're going to go ahead and put you over here. And then we'll see if we get another just kind of freebie off of this. It's not 50% chance to reveal every time. Every time that they do it, the odds to reveal go higher and higher. They actually can improve this a little bit with their perks later on, but we're just going to go ahead and take another shot right here. And once again with the high roll due to the flank, perfect. That's a crit. They did reveal that time, and now everybody else should start firing as soon as this guy moves. There we go. And they're going to trigger in the order that they are, well, that they're triggered. So unlike the first XCOM, they take turns to fire. So this means that you can potentially save some of them for later. So we're going to go ahead and quickly reload everybody here, as well as keeping an eye out on kind of everything on the map. Now, you'll notice that there are no mods active. So, for example, Overwatch All is a pretty standard mod. It's absolutely so standard that even the mobile version, actually, most other versions of this have Overwatch All just included. The PC version does not. It just has a mod for that, usually. I'm just going to play this normally. So this is fully vanilla with the DLC and stuff like that, bugs and all. So just expect that that's a thing. Now, the reason for this is just I really like running things vanilla whenever possible, so, you know, it is what it is. Now, we'll put this guy back into stealth, and we're going to have him run out here and kind of see what he sees. So, okay, so next one is going to be the commander pod here. Or officer, not commander, my bad. So we're going to have you kind of eyeball it over this direction, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot of high ground here, so for now we're going to leave everybody else in this trap. So currently there's two pods still out on this map. There's this officer pod, and in their case they're going to have two troopers that'll take basic shots, and then they'll have an officer who can improve accuracy and is generally harder to kill. And then we've got the sectoid pod over here. That guy can raise the dead as well as potentially mind control somebody, so that's a little bit of a problem there. Now, we're going to have you go run up over here for the time being. He's not in any danger of being spotted, but what I would like to do is potentially set up a claymore, but for the time being we're just going to observe their patterns. Because while we can go over to blow up the statue right now, for the time being, I just want to see where they're patrolling, see if they're going to get anywhere close. We might end up wanting to move that entire party along the back of the map in order to get them into a better spot, which I think is exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to give it one more turn here, just to see what they do. Okay. Yeah, they're going to go off that way. That's fine. Now, one thing that we can do is actually kind of pseudo-trap these guys. So, okay, actually, no, we're going to do this a completely different way. Let's see. Let's have you... Probably... Yeah, they're not going to have enough range. See, we have the Claymore, and then we have the shot with the Claymore. So this means that we can guarantee 5 damage in a circle, but they won't be able to move. So this would potentially cause either of these parties to lose their last member, who will run away in panic. So for now, we're just going to slink you on this way. And we want to leave them in a position that they can essentially pull this off, that they have one unit left over. That unit will then essentially panic and go join the other pod. And then from there, the hope is that yeah, they will simply go rejoin with that other team later. For the time being, though, these guys are still patrolling around. So what I'm going to do is move them over to this direction. Seeing as their detection radius is lower, I'm not too worried about them being spotted, because they probably see this Overwatch trap and just refuse to acknowledge it. The AI, again, does cheat a little bit. They can sort of sniff out where you are to some extent. So if there's a big old kind of like massive units clumped up like that, it's fair to assume it's probably a trap. They can usually smell that, so we'll put you there for the time being. So if they don't move, his line of sight is currently blocked for that sectoid pod behind. And they would be able to essentially trigger these units, which should hopefully cause this guy to run away. So they're just kind of sitting, having a little bit of a chat. We're going to throw this out here right hereabouts. This trooper was around here somewhere, so we'll go ahead and throw that there. Alright, sounds good. And then we'll go ahead and... Oh, he actually doesn't have... Okay, he doesn't currently have line of sight to trigger it. So we're going to go ahead and move over here. They probably will decide to move after this, actually. But we'll see. We'll keep this trap over here. And the reason that this is important is because it allows all of them to potentially have a high degree of accuracy on taking somebody out. If they don't have that high degree of accuracy, stuff can get complicated very quick. Now, let's see. We've got... Yeah, it looks like there's actually all of them are right there. So we'll have you move over here and just take a shot on that Claymore. The Claymore itself, I believe, might not actually cause a break in concealment. So there we go. 2 down, and this guy's wounded. It's like, yeah, go get that random civilian over there. One thing that can happen off of that ability that's very useful is sometimes they'll cause a fire on the ground, and while running away, they'll step onto that fire, and it'll finish them off. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, well, they still didn't see the guy, so that's something. But they are panicking and running away. I'm not too worried about getting an ambush on the rest of them, so we're just going to take the shot. And one of the abilities you can get for these guys later is if they do get a kill when finishing somebody off, that they just remain in... Oh my god, that's bad. That is real bad. Thankfully, this guy's completely got the situational awareness of a trash bag, so we're fine. But yeah, that's... if you've ever seen that's XCOM baby meme, that's why. Because you will miss a 90% in the most critical moment 100% of the time. And I would not have been shocked whatsoever if that one missed anyway. Alright, so they did get revealed. That's fine. So the rest of these guys will want to remain at a distance because Reapers are pretty darn fast. And again, we want to keep that accuracy bonus. It seems like I'm overreacting about this accuracy bonus. You want to lure into traps. It is important. Now, this will be the closest tile that we want to approach from. This probably should still be out of range. Nope, we triggered him. Alright, he needs to get out of sight quickly. So there's not too much good cover outside of behind that truck. He needs to be completely out of sight because he can get mind-controlled here. So we're going to say run way... Oh, she can't even get back there. Okay, run behind the truck. It's about our safest bet right now. So they go there. These guys are going to remain trapping as they are. And hopefully, these two decide to go run around the circle. Now, that zombie will last a couple of rounds. It won't be too big of a threat, but they'll probably send it against the trap, so we'll see. Okay, that's a problem. So he decided to go dash ahead. Okay. So, best play for you is probably just going to be to run. Because while this guy is relatively quickish, he won't be able to take much more than a regular shot from here. Half cover ain't great, but it's still cover. So, despite the usual rule of you want to stay in cover all the time, this isn't necessarily always true. Anyways, they're going to go for the mind control, looks like, and yeah, they did resist it, but it did mess with their accuracy, so that's fine. We're just going to assume Jesse Fox is too stupid to be mind controlled. He doesn't control his own thoughts. How is somebody else going to control them? Okay. So, let's see. A bunch of 45s. I mean, I'm fine taking a bunch of coin flips here. 25%. We're actually going to leave him on Overwatch, seeing as he's going to recover at the end of his turn, so that's going to be perfectly fine there. You, on the other hand, are going to try to outgun this guy. So, that's a problem. He can sort of get in a good position over here, but it's going to come with some caveats, unfortunately. See, the thing is, he can get in a position to flank shot this guy. That's got a pretty high chance of success, but he's too valuable a unit to potentially risk that on. So what we're going to do is just go back here and just kind of put him into to Overwatch here. Or actually, just a basic shot's probably good enough. He probably won't roll it even if... Oh, okay, I stand corrected. Never mind. Ribbelt is lethal. Good to know. Okay, so we'll take a couple coin flips and put them into Overwatch here. They'll probably attempt to send in their zombie and take a pistol shot. That probably wouldn't kill even if it hit, so we're just going to take our shots here. You might be wondering, why don't I run up and use a grenade to go blow up his cover, because that's technically an option too. Not only would that put that in range of the zombie, but it also would take 2 grenades to blow up that pillar that he's got right there, since a lot of the hardier architecture does actually take 2 hits, and that's going to be most of the stuff in these decorated areas. Anyway, Despite the fact that it still shows him as disorientated, he does not seemingly get the disorientation bonus for taking an Overwatch there. So there we go. They're just going to take a long range, nothing of a pistol shot. And we'll just take a couple more coin flips to hopefully finish this guy off. We'll see if it happens or doesn't. I think it will. Probably should have put him on Overwatch there, but oh well. Alright. Trashbird, you go this way in case he decides to go for something else. I feel like his zombie must have expired by this point, because we haven't seen any action from that thing. And there we go. Festa, finish it. That was some very neutral shooting, ma'am. No, that's not great, but it's less risky than having them run up and do their flank shot. They're also running coin flips, and we just get more coin flips in this case, so it'll do. It'll do. Anyway, reload and fire. Actually, wait, that wasn't even... No, that was our rando. That wasn't even Festa that was taking that last shot. There we go. In that case, Festa's neutrality is just wearing off, I guess. Alright, so the zombie was apparently never triggered, so that's fine. And now we just go ahead and go deal with the statue. Yes, everybody came in and risked their lives so that they could fancily blow up a statue. That's the logic we're starting with. Like, that'll show them this random statue. This'll get the job done. This is definitely worth risking all of our operatives' lives for. Anyway, we'll go ahead and put this on here. There we go. Good job, Mr. Ribbolt, and we are off. Okie doke. So, from here, we get our first promotions. These first promotions, as long as somebody got a kill, are pretty much guaranteed. I'm pretty sure they all got a kill, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try and like hyper min-max this thing. And additionally, I want to point out, I'm going to be picking skill points or skills and perks entirely based off of what's appropriate for the character. So we start off with a promotional poster, as you do. We're just going to take that picture and move on. So get off our planet. Alright, and now that we've accidentally done a xenophobia, let's go ahead and get out of here. Take a little bit of a quick sip of water here. And I love how back in the day this was such a high-demand kind of game as far as processing goes, and now you can just run it on your phone. It's good stuff. But yeah, with Gatecrasher out of the way, we get our first research projects going. We get our first soldiers in the base. We get our first view at what our campaign map is looking like. Yeah, with all that loading, the time that it takes to load the gate that's supposed to hide the loading causes the entire thing to already be done loading. It's just funny, but it's absolutely peak XCOM 2 logic. Anyway, so I should also mention, so we've got special soldiers and regular soldiers. So these faction soldiers, like Ribbolt is over here, they actually promote differently than everybody else does, to some degree anyway. And additionally, we've got a kind of a buddy system going on. So for example, every time that people go out on missions together, depending on their compatibility, they will essentially build up a meter that allows them to do team-up attacks and stuff like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and upgrade Festa first. Looks like she's going to be our specialist, so she's going to be our tech support more or less. The aid protocol allows her to give a dodge bonus to anyone that's, well, buffed by the thing. And it can be used on a first action and then fired afterwards, so pretty useful stuff there. Specialists, once they end up getting promoted all the way, can just do like full map-wide heals, can blow up robots on a whim. It's good stuff. You know, hack stuff at a distance. Looks like this rando generic over here is going to be our ranger. Fair enough. Definitely want to have the person that's smoking and probably got lung problems doing all of our running, naturally. So their first ability is to use a sword and a shotgun. So the shotgun gives a lot more guaranteed damage at close range, whereas the sword has a damage bonus against certain enemies and also doesn't run out of ammo. Now, it depends on the character as far as whether a sword is good for them. Personally, I really like sword builds, but again, it's arguable as far as their utility goes. But sectoids, for example, would take, I think, like 7 damage from a Blade Master sword hit from the machete, whereas they would only take like 3 to 4 from a rifle. So that's pretty good there. Looks like Jesse Fox is going to be our heavy weapons expert. Sure, I'll take it. So they start off with the ability to launch grenades, so they'll have their standard grenade as well as their extra pocket for a grenade. And on top of that, they switch out the rifle for a minigun over here. So the cannon weapons essentially get extra damage at longer range. Unlike the shotgun, they don't have a kind of range fall-off penalty, but they're a bit harder to hit with in general, and have less ammo, despite the fact that they have that gigantic drum magazine because they are spraying and praying everywhere. Grenades are going to be some of our most reliable kind of ways to progress in the early game here, but more on that as we go on. And then finally we have our Reapers over here, and we are going to go ahead and just become overpowered right off the start with Remote Start. So let me explain the ability point system here real quick. So, first of all, faction soldiers are going to be a bit different in that they essentially just build up a point, just kind of a pile of points that they can later go and spend on any of their abilities, so they can essentially unlock anything from here. As far as their skills go, they'll have 2 available at every rank here, and additionally will be kind of going down either Stealth Saboteur or Marksman routes. However, they will again be able to backtrack for any one of these. On top of this, they will have a collection of additional abilities that are unique to the soldier, that allow them to do just kind of, it's kind of randomized skills, but more organized from the first XCOM, where they just can do certain special abilities depending on their class, and that typically are usually pretty overpowered. So, like in this case, Squad Sight. This guy would be able to fire on anybody that anybody else in the team can see, but it takes 25 AP to actually unlock. For the sake of comparison, the super overpowered Remote Start only costs 10. Oh wait, sorry, throat's being a little bit weird there. So this one would take a little bit of a while to build up to. So you'll notice it says up there Soldier AP and XCOM AP. So every time that we take a kind of good strategic action here, it will effectively be building up ability points that we can spend on anybody. So these points can be spent on the sort of randomized skill pool that these guys have access to later, once we get a few more facilities unlocked, or on faction soldiers at any time to go get any of their abilities. So we typically unlock these a few at a time, but this is like every time you take a flank shot, every time you fire from up above, anytime that you just use the right counter for something, etc. So they build up, not exactly quickly, but you will get a good collection of them as time goes on. Alright. So next, we get our research station. So in the research lab, you do researches and stuff. To start off with, we have these 4 over here. We've got modular weapons, which allows us to start working towards weapon upgrades. This is typically the kind of correct approach at the very start. Then you have hybrid materials, which works you towards armor research. This is typically as fast as you can get to it, but you know, you got a minute. And then alien biotech, which gets us towards our kind of overall map traversal logistics research. We need to do this, but for the time being, we need to at least start working towards magnetic weapons, so we're going to start off with this. However, as soon as experimental weapons shows up as inspired, we are taking that thing. So experimental weapons allows you to unlock a few extra weapon options in the early game, including several very, very good weapon variants that are unique. So for example, this starts you off with the crossbow, the axe, as well as the old world weapons, which essentially are just kind of upgraded one-off versions of every one of those things. If the soldier using them dies and isn't recovered, they're just permanently gone. So that's the risky play with a lot of potential options, but the crossbow and cryo grenade in particular are very, very good if we run into boss units. For the time being, though, we're just going to go for this. And additionally, while it's not showing any symbols, I want to go over here to engineering and get some facilities built. So we have enough money right from the very start to build one facility right from the get-go. We don't have any engineers to open up more space, but we want to get something going as fast as possible. Now, there's a few different things you can do. You got the GTS, which was basically the meta back in standard XCOM 2, in which case you'd be able to train your soldiers into specializations right from the very start, so you don't have to start with rookies. Got power relays to give you more power, laboratories to build up your research time, training centers for essentially training your units, and additionally allowing them to build up bond exercises and stuff like that. But the most important thing for right now is the resistance ring, which essentially allows us to do away missions, more or less. So right now it's going to take 24 days to build, and additionally, as far as building items, usually what you want to do at this point is pick up at least one flashbang. So the reason that you pick up the flashbang is because if a sectoid shows up, you want to have a counter to it. And so if you, for example, run into a sectoid and mind control somebody, if you flashbang them, not only are they going to miss their next attack more than likely, not only are they going to have their movement drastically reduced, but for example, say they made that psionic zombie, that zombie is now dead. It's just instantly deleted. So that's good stuff there. By the way, this part cracks me up because there was a similar bug that happened in the PlayStation Vita version of XCOM Enemy Unknown, as well as the Switch version of XCOM 2. Namely, that this introductory cutscene with Bradford, in both cases, ends up bugging out until you cause it to do something. So anyways, let's continue on here. So at the moment, we've got the option to gain intel from Reapers, as well as going for the supply cache over here. If this, see, this is one of the benefits that can happen from starting off with, I forget if it was Skirmishers or Templars that give you the build time bonus, but the build time bonus actually ends up being worth more than the supplies if that's what you spawned with at the start, because you can effectively have the time of building up your resistance ring so that you already are doing away missions before you end up moving on to the next stage of the game. Now, that being said, I want to take a look at who we have in our armory at this point, just to kind of know. All right, so we've got Zenaida from Armored Core Last Raven. We've got Jim Failure, aka Crossback, from Armored Core 3. We've got Lane the Operator Myers from Silent Mine. Apparently, we were just going full full Armored Core mode for these ones. We've got Squall the Raincloud Griever over here. Okay, he got ruined actually. That's funny. So you have a couple of soldiers that are guaranteed to spawn with the with this stuff, with this particular equipment, and he actually got overwritten by that. So we're gonna go ahead and switch him back to his default stuff here. There we go. Now he's back to normal. But yeah, we got Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, and then we've got Walker and Hatch, who apparently just got fused together from the PS1 version of Warhawk. I don't know why I always decided to fuse them together, but I also made their gun have the same pattern as the Warhawk, so we've got that going for us. And then we've got a few other randos here, and yeah, as we go along, we'll get additional options to play around with, but we'll go ahead and head over to the bridge and see what our next event is. And I think for every episode of this, we'll probably end up doing kind of one event here. Anyway, we don't have time, or we don't have the means to expand anywhere just yet. We don't have too many options, so we'll just go collect these supplies. And your first roughly 4 or 5 missions are usually relatively simple, though never underestimate their ability to result in a complete squad wipe. So there's that. So the first resource thing that you get is going to be free. So you'll get your first research, you'll get your first kind of map event, and then from there, just expect to be constantly interrupted. Alright, so we got hybrid materials going down to 10 days. That's pretty good. We're going to go for that. So inspirations are going to be one-off researches that it's just a bonus for right now. If you don't take it right now, you lose it forever. You additionally have unique researches that can come from this, like, for example, adding additional damage or additional augment slots or whatever else to different pieces of equipment, or permanently improving some of your facilities or whatnot. For the time we're going to take this, magnetic weapons is what we need, but we're not going to be able to do this just yet. More than likely, we're probably going to want to wait until the black market is open in order to take advantage of potentially buying a speed up for this, because 2 months is like a really, really long time in this game. You're operating on weeks, not months. Okay, so we'll go ahead and head back to the bridge here. And collect our supplies. We get 58 supplies, really not much to write home about, and we get our first engineer. So your first mission is always going to be an engineer, but getting a second engineer from an overworld event is very, very, very good. Because engineers are the most important thing for progressing in the early game here. Like I said, guaranteed engineer, neutralize field commander objective. This is not good. That's very bad for a first thing here. We'll see. I mean, I guess it depends. So, field commander, neutralized field commander. Basically, this means you have to go assassinate a guy. As soon as you break concealment, if you haven't killed off the guy, and this is especially a problem if you're running beta strike as far as your options go, if you, for example, end up breaking concealment, they will immediately start running away and get a dropship ready, and will also have reinforcements showing up. So the entire map swarms you, they have additional units that pop up, and your main target is immediately running away. So you absolutely have to have the guy dead before the fight really starts, which can potentially be difficult. Now thankfully nobody got injured in our first fight, so we've got some options, and additionally we've got a grenadier here who's going to be carrying that flashbang. Now, that flashbang will additionally help us out as far as slowing the guy down, so we've got that going for us right there. As far as any other options, we basically don't have any. We didn't have a sharpshooter. Also, let me check real quick. I forget if we actually... I think we have to get experimental weapons to actually get our other upgrades going. Let's see, extended magazine... What? Who would need an extended mag? I think you need an extended mag, because he's the one... Then again, he's not really sniping that often, so I'm thinking extended mag probably goes on this guy. So, for now we've upgraded, kind of upgrades to our weapons, but not our armor as of yet. So we'll just go ahead and give him a basic expanded magazine. This isn't very good. In many cases, it's probably just worth selling, but it does improve their shot capacity by 1. So that helps out for now, and there's really not much else we're going to be able to do outside of swapping weapons, and I don't think we have access to the... We do! Okay, cool. Okay, so we do have access to some additional stuff. So the scatter gun is essentially the XCOM 1 shotgun, so we're going to put that there. We get one of each of these. So you're also going to go ahead and pick up that initial rifle. Let's go ahead and give you that one. So the overworld assault rifle, again, just basically the kind of scar-looking thing that they had in the first XCOM. They're just going to come with some free upgrades. And then finally, we'll give you that cannon. These do come with upgrades. They're technically an advantage. What's this thing's advantage? I think it's basically the same thing. Oh no, it actually comes with a stock, so it'll still do 1 damage to a missed shot, so that's pretty good. So we'll add that there, and we don't have one to give to this guy because we only have a basic sniper rifle. So... Okay, we might lose these pieces of equipment immediately, but we'll see. Alright, now, I'm going to essentially cut off the episode here, though. This is going to be it for part 1, and then part 2, we'll go ahead and get this thing started. Alright, I'll see you then. Have a good one.